Matt here from The Random Maker, and today I'm going to be showing one of my favorite beginner wood turning projects that I've shown hundreds, if not thousands of people. I'm going to show you how to make your handy dandy own executive type pen. So how about this? Let's move on. Now we're ready to actually get going on this. So let's go over what you're going to need to do this project. Unfortunately, pens are one of those up front. There is a little bit of investment. If you're already into turning or stuff, or if you're going to get into turning, boom, you're already ready. You are going to need is your pen material. Now, there are two types, there are actually more, but two main types of commercially available pen blanks. Number one, which is more fancier, is acrylic. And the reason I'm bringing this up first, I actually wouldn't recommend it as a first pen. For our video, we are gonna start with just wood. Now, the reason I like wood, very forgiving, it's easier to polish for beginners a lot of the time. And in general, it's just, you can also, if you wanna try without buying fancy stuff, to a degree, you can just grab it out of your hardwood blanks. Next thing you're gonna need to do is buy your insides of the pen that make it a pen. You can buy different types, and you can go from very cheap in bulk to very expensive and custom, and everything else in between. There's tons of websites online, and yeah, so just buy your pen innards. Next thing you have to do is drill it out. And you can go to your drill bits and find the exact sizes, but I've just gone and I bought the drill bits that match this particular kit. I've got a couple drill bits just for pens and stuff I do semi-regularly. On some of the oddball ones, I will be careful and match it and use my regular drill bits, but this is a beginner one I do with a lot of people, so I have the proper exact size, which makes it less chance of any oopsies. You are gonna need some type of glue, and depending on your material, now, the next thing you're gonna need is a reaming tool. That this is meant for the pen, so I can actually change the inside to fit that pen, and it'll perfectly make sure it's straight, because when we're turning it, we don't want it to wobble at all. Next, you are gonna need a pen mandrel, and if you look right here, we have the matching sleeves for this particular pen kit. What you're going to need to do is you're going to have some turning tools for your lathe. This is my kit here. And yeah, you don't need everything here. We're only gonna use actually a couple of them. So once you have it turned, you're going to need some sandpaper, which I don't have in front of me, but the other thing you're gonna need is some type of polish. And once you have it polished, you're gonna need a device to press all the pieces and pens together. And unfortunately, this is one thing. There are ways to do it without it, but what I have found is the potential for damage. It makes it a lot easier to have one of these. But you can do it without it. That's about all the stuff you need to have. Let's actually get making here. This particular pen kit, you can just measure it and cut it in half. But some of those pen kits, not all of the sleeves are actually even. So what I like to do is I just put the sleeves in here, and then I put a mark right down the middle. As you can see, we're gonna trim it anyway, and we do want room, so it doesn't really matter as long as the sleeves have tons of room to work through. And we've got a nice handy dandy line. So let's go cut that. Okay, so I'm gonna show you my setup of how I drill the holes in there. There is commercially available devices, especially if you're doing a lot of pens, that it clamps it in perfectly straight. What I've done here is pretty much mimic that idea. I don't do enough pens to make it worth it. And yeah, pretty simple. So what I've done here is I just have 2 blocks of wood that create a square. That way it's holding both sides up perfectly square. Then I just clamp it in, so there's basically, it can't move. Between the pressure of this going down and that, it doesn't move. Now, is this perfect? No, but it works really well as long as you're careful. First thing you want to do is we want to make sure we know the exact center of where the hole is. So I'm gonna just take a piece of another pen I was working on and just draw corner to corner, because that'll give us the center every time. And pretty simple. I'm gonna line this up with my drill bit. Now these pen drill bits are brad point drill bits, so what that means is they've got that middle little point. So as long as that middle point is in the X here, all the way through, that's about it. So let's show you how this is done. Okay, so basically all you have to do is just go straight down through with the drill bit. Make sure there's something underneath so you don't hit any metal, and that's it. Okay, so now that we've got these holes nice and drilled, awesome. What we're gonna do is you can use cyanide acrylite. To be honest, I'm gonna try a small experiment. Gorilla Glue gel is one of my favorite super glues, for lack of better wording. It has just worked so well in the past. Also, because of the way I'm filming this, we're actually not going to be using this one, so I'm not worried about the cure time, because you should let any of this gluing be 24 hours is my general rule, or to be honest, whatever the glue says, but even if it's like a 20-minute cure, I still always give it 24 hours. Go in here, and then I spin as I'm pushing it in, and then I also like to pull it out and double check, make sure that there is glue everywhere on here, because the one thing that could really make this not good is if you need to have glue all the way down the tube. If not, bad things can happen. I'm gonna put some thin glue in here and just make sure we've got those pieces off to the side, because we're actually not gonna be turning those. I have some blanks already. So we're gonna ream out those pins. So if there's any glue on the inside of the tube, because on the pen mandrel, it has to be like flush. And so what I've got here is a pen ream. And what you do is you find the innard or the center tube, and this cleans out any glue in there. What this is gonna do is gonna ream that edge of the pen, so that when you put it in the pen turning device, it'll make sure it's perfectly straight. Very simple. We're gonna quickly go put this in a vise, put it in a drill, and ream all 4 sides. I'm just putting the wood in the vise. I don't really have to worry about marks or anything, because we're gonna be turning it anyway. And here you can actually see, I'm just gonna take that pen mandrel all set up, put it on the innards, and you can see the inside flushes up, and you just keep drilling it out until you hit the brass. Just be careful you don't go too fast as soon as you see any. Now there's a little bit of room for error, but yeah, that's about it. Do all 4 sides, and you can see here I'm just going in and out checking, because I want to make sure that I don't hit any brass. Okay, well, let's switch over, because now it's the fun part. So we have our pen mandrel. The pattern is very simple. Now each pen is a little different. For this style of pen, all 3 are the same. Some are different, so make sure you have the right, because some are thick, some are small, and then you sometimes need to have different sizes for these. So make sure you're paying attention. In this case, both are the same, so I just have 3. So I do spacer, wood, spacer, and then wood. That's about it. I did say, oh, it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of overhanging. That's fine, but you don't want like tons. I'm gonna put one end into the lathe here. I'm gonna take the pen mandrel, and I'm gonna put the other end here. And how this works, very simple. This end is hollow, and these 2 grip all those, and it puts pressure in. So I'm just gonna push nice and gently up there. Then I'm gonna give it a little bit of a torque. Pretty simple. I'm then going to set my rest as close as I can. Now, one of the things with the rests, you want to be as close to the material as possible, and then you want the rest about centered. I'm probably not going to remove the rest that much, because unfortunately pens are smaller, so I'd start hitting the metal. So a lot of times with pens, where normally with the rest I keep it as close to wood as possible, lock it, and call it a day. Also pens, it's a lot harder to shoot off. So I'm not going to go into major detail on how to turn, because guess what? That's not a turning video, this is a pen video. So you're just going to watch me hollow out all this wood, and we're good to go. Okay, so this is pretty simply, I'm just hollowing out a lot of the material. I use a roughing gouge just to get away, so it's, you know, how do I say it nicely? A little less boxy. And so eventually I'm going to switch over to a smaller spindle gouge. And yeah, at the end, I'm just going to take a knife and cut it out. I'm horrible with names sometimes, but yeah, turning wood is I don't know, I find it very relaxing. As you can see here, this is sped up incredibly, but I'm actually really enjoying myself. One thing I liked about pens is it's not complicated, and it's something you can just listen to music. You can just kind of zone in on, make a really nice product. And yeah, I will say though that I'm switching over to the cutting tool here, and I would not recommend this on a newer pen. This saves me a ton of sanding, but it can catch incredibly easy, and it's one of those things I would recommend using softer wood to learn on before you actually go. Even me, I haven't done it in a while, so I went oversized to just make sure I could get it out. So yeah, that's about it. Now we have our rough shape. Well, actually it's pretty smooth. I got a nice cut in there. So all I'm gonna do next, sandpaper for the final, and then we're gonna polish this up, and then I'll show you how to press it all together. Like I said, this is a really easy project. So let's get sanding.
Okay, you can see I've removed the fence and I'm just holding the sandpaper in the palm of my hand. This is for a variety of reasons. Number one, I don't actually want to wrap my hand in case the lid gets caught. And if you can tell, I'm actually not gripping the sandpaper. So if at any point I feel any pull or anything like that, I'm just going to drop my hand. And yeah, that's about it. It's just a matter of being very careful. This sands very quickly and you don't want to make it too much sanding. So that's about it. And yeah.
Okay, so now that this is all like really nice here, like to be fair, you probably don't even need to put a polish. It looks so smooth and pretty, but you always want to have something on there because just the oil in your hands, water, pen, it's wood. You don't want to be handling it a lot. So I'm just going to use some turning polish to seal it and make it all pretty, and then we're going to press this pen together and we're good to go.
So I was a genius and forgot to show you, but anyway, so how I did this is I just spun it, put a little of the wax, and then you can use cotton cloth. I'm using paper towel, it has the same effect. And notice I'm holding my hand open and just pushing up against the wax. What I'm doing is I'm melting the wax onto the wood, and this works with other turning, but yeah, that's how this works, and it'll make it nice and shiny, and it looks awesome. All right. Ooh, shiny.
Okay, so now we're actually ready here to start putting the pen all together. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna get our wood out, our material, our blanks out first. So be careful now because it'd be a nightmare at this stage once you get here. So really simple with these pens. This is a pen press. There are other ways to do this, but this is my preferred method because it's just way easier. So what we're gonna do here, pull all the parts out. It's pretty easy here. So I always like to do the front first because we have to make adjustments. And I've always found that if you do the front first, it turns out better. How this works is very simple. We pull back our hammer and then we pull this back here and we put that in. And then I'm gonna just put as many there until it is pressed in. Next, this is where the cartridge squeezes in. Okay, and there's a little line right here that it goes in, and you're only supposed to press to that line. Go. What you want to do is put the pen in now. We always want to retract it in, and actually that's about dead on. The line was good this time. Not every time it works perfectly. So there we go. So we've got this all happy now. And what I'm going to do is put the back half together. Some people like to start with the back because it is easier, but I always like to get the hardest out first. But one of the pieces in here is the collar. And this just allows it to spin nicely. So this collar just drops on here. Boom. And then top with the little clip, nice and easy. Goes here, boom. And I just wanna, yeah. You can do fancy patterns and all that. I'm pretty easygoing about the idea. I did put, like, I always like to put a little bit of a thicker grip, but then it's just a matter of keeping this nice and straight, and you don't want to go too crazy because you can chip and all that. But if you're nice and there, and voila, we have a fully functioning, gorgeous, executive looking pen. The thing I like about the pen, it is one of the greatest introductions to turning. So let's wrap this video up and let's take her home. There you go. That's it. Nice and easy. If you like this video, do us a favor, hit the like button. If you like this type of random content in small, big projects, and we're still figuring out our home and what we want to do, because I want to teach people projects, but I also want an excuse to do crazy ones. Like Mordred Sword was just one of my personal favorites. If you have any other project, put it in the comments below. You know the drill. Well, how are we gonna wrap this up? Like always, Matt from The Random Maker. Until next time, let's get making.